Every, every Wednesday we have our mastermind meeting, but tonight we have a real certified, bona fide school owner, beauty professional. They live, eat, drink this beauty industry. Very passionate. Um, she looks like a beauty professional. And we should. When you go out in public, people should be able to look at you and tell what you do. You should look like you somebody. So without further ado, we got Miss McDonald. And y'all gonna have to get y'all's pen and paper out. We're gonna go ahead and get started. Let's go back to your childhood. Tell us about your childhood, introduce yourself, where you from, and then we're gonna come all the way up to now.
Okay, how you doing, Shin? Thank you for having me, and I want to say congratulations on your baby. Um, my name is Tesha McDonald. I am Alternatives Beauty Studio. I am Alternatives Beauty School, and I am Alternatives Beauty. My childhood. So it's five of us. I have an identical twin sister. She's on watching now. And I have three younger brothers. I am the oldest of five. Um, both of our parents died at very early ages. So the five of us grew up in foster care. And like I said, my sister and I are the oldest of five. My brothers were split from us and they kept the twins together. But my grandmother, she passed away now, but she was our foster mom. She heard that there were five of us and that we were all split up, and she got us all back together. She said, no, if there's five, I'm keeping all five together. And so today we couldn't be closer, even though we live miles and miles apart. So that's a little bit of my history. Um,
What was school like?
School when I was younger.
Yes, elementary. We're going to junior high and high school.
Oh, wow, we're going through all of that. So because my parents were drug addicts, both of them, they were crack and heroin. Um, we got made fun of a lot because we were living in poverty. I don't know if you guys remember Lee jeans, but that was the thing back in those days. And we didn't have any Lee jeans, and they would steal the patches and stuff like that. But we would get made fun of because we smelled and we didn't have the best hygiene, and we fought a lot. We fought a lot as children. It was tough. It was tough living in the projects of Harlem. We lived in Harlem, New York. Um, but then, like I said, at 9 years old, my grandmother took us in. My foster mom, she passed away in 2020, but she took us in and cleaned us up really well. Um, if it weren't for her, I don't know where we would be today, to be honest with you. Um, so that was our childhood. I had a rough childhood because I always felt like I was stupid. I always, when you're a twin, they always compare you. And so I was always the pretty twin, but I was the dumb twin. And my sister, she was considered not pretty, and we looked almost just alike. But she was the very smart twin, and they would always compare us, and I would always feel less than. I would always feel stupid, even up until I would say even into my 40s. I still felt like I was stupid, and I was always the fat twin, and she was always the skinny twin, and that's how people would tell us apart. But it was tough. It was
What
tough.
was high school like? What did you
High
do?
school, high school was better, but not much, because high school, I started doing my own thing. I was very rebellious. Junior high is when both our parents died. And then we don't really celebrate a lot of holidays. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Christmas Eve, my stepfather died. Loved him beyond loved him. I loved him. He died Christmas Eve. The one year. The very next year, my mother passed away in January. The very next year after her, my father died in February. So December, January, and February, three deaths in a row, 3 years in a row. And for years, my sister and I just dressed in black for those months. And till this day, I'm not really a big on Christmas. That's why I always say, be careful of how you celebrate, not how you celebrate, but not everybody sees Christmas as a cheery time of year. And for years, we did not see Christmas as a cheery time of year. I remember one year, my mother, my natural mother, she got us these pair of white boots. That's all she could afford. And I think she borrowed money to even get that. Um, it was tough. So, but high school was tough. I still was rebellious, but my grandmother had us in church and she did not play. We were not allowed to do after school activities because she didn't want us getting caught up in the streets, as she would say. She didn't trust us to do after school activities. I wanted to be on track, but she said absolutely not. But she did allow us to work. Um, it was rare that we could go to the movies. The foster agency had to say, look, you have to let up. You cannot hold on to these girls like that, because she would say, oh, she would give, quote, a lot of scripture and say why we couldn't go to the movies, why we couldn't drink certain things when we went to restaurants. She was very strict. She was very strict, but I appreciate it now.
So you graduated from high school.
Graduated from high school,
What did you
was
do after high
accepted into
school?
college.
Hmm.
Was accepted into college. However, everybody said, no, college wouldn't be for me. My grandmother actually was the one who said that I needed to go to cosmetology school because young, 5 years old, I started braiding hair. Um, that was my outlet. I taught my sister how to braid hair. So my sister and I, she was my first model. We would just braid each other's hair on the weekends. And my grandmother would always say, I don't know how you do those tiny little braids. And at that time, we used to use aluminum foil for the
Hmm.
ends, you know. So that was way back. Now everybody knows to use a rubber band. So, but we used to do that. And then my grandma, I know we all know that pressing comb. So on Saturday nights, we were sitting in that kitchen getting our hair pressed out by my grandmother. But then come Monday, my sister and I are sitting between each other's legs, cornrowing our hair for the week.
So after high school, you went to beauty school, or what were you doing?
No, after high school, oh my goodness, it's so much choppiness in my youth because we went into group home, we went into another foster home. It was just my childhood was it was not, these young people don't know what it is to be, like have it really hard. I don't understand. You can't get something and it's just a sense of entitlement today. But high school, we were the first to graduate high school. My mom was I think she was an eighth grade dropout or something like that. I know my father didn't graduate high school either. So my sister and I were the first to actually graduate high school. So my grandfather was very start on like, you have to go to college, you have to go to college. But my grandmother said, college is not for Tisha. My sister went on to college. We both did. I went for stenography, actually. I was very good at shorthand and I was very good at typing. Shorthand is not even a thing today. Um, but I was good at those things. So I went to college, a 2-year college on a 4-year plan. I did more partying at college than really studying. Um, and then I ended up dropping out of college. But my sister went on and she became a nurse, and that's what she is today. But she also does hair. So she graduated. Of course, everybody's proud of my sister for graduating. Me, I'm like lost. I don't know what I'm gonna do right now. So I got my certificate for stenography. I was able to take shorthand at 180 words per minute. But that's and 3 people talking at a time. You know what a stenographer is, the court reporter that sits in the courtroom and takes dictation. That's what I was in school for. But I couldn't work in a courtroom. I could work in a law firm, and I did that for a little bit. I couldn't work in a courtroom because I couldn't take dictation at 4 people at a time at 220 words per minute.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's what I went to school for. I went to school for court reporting.
So, okay, you go for the court reporting. You're doing 180 words to shorthand. So, what are you doing now? What was next?
So the next thing, I was living on my friend's couch at that time when I was going to school because at 17, my grandmother put us out because now, yeah, I'm out of control, I guess. Um, so I'm still going to school for that. And I get a job at a law firm. And I'm on welfare because I'm living on my girlfriend's couch because now I'm waiting to age out of the agency. So now I'm aging out of the agency. So now I'm able to get food stamps and stuff like that. But when you're coming out of foster care, what the apartments that they wanted to show you, because they call it independent living, and the apartments they showed us was right back in Harlem. Now we grew up in Long Island, so we had already gotten out of the project mentality, so to speak, but they wanted to put you right back in Harlem in the projects where my parents were on drugs. And I was like, absolutely not. Absolutely, this is not for me. I would rather sleep on my girlfriend's couch than to live in a tenement or a project and be a product of like what my parents were. I refused to do that. So then I started dating this guy. I won't say his name, but we dated for 10 months and we got married. 10 months and we got married. And I think it was more of a desperation thing as well because I'm living on my friend's couch. She's married, she has 4 kids, and it was like time for me to get out. And they're kind of saying like, okay, you're over there all the time. Why don't you just marry him and, move in or whatever? So that's what I did. And 2 years later, I was 21. 2 years later, we were divorced.
Wow.
Well, yeah, 2 years later, we were divorced. And then I met my husband and we're married now 25 years. So I dated my husband. We were friends for 9 months first. And I won't even get into all of that. He might be on here listening too. But
Where'd you meet him?
I met him actually through my sister. My sister was dating his best friend. And that's a whole nother story. But today we are still together 25 years later. But it was just he supported me in everything that I wanted to do. So while I was in college, there was this girl named Sherelle, and she was doing nails. Now I was always into hair, always natural braiding, always that. But she was into nails, and I was like, oh. And I even have pictures from when I was younger with me wearing Queen Helene julep mint julep mask. Queen Helene mint julep mask, and they still make it.
Is
It's
that
a
the
green
green?
mask. Yes, yes, yes. So I still have that. So my grandmother, I have a picture of me in it. I've always been into skincare. I've always been into hair, but the nails was something new for me when I went off to college because she was doing it, but the whole dorm would smell of acrylics, and she wore them very, very long. So when I came home, I started practicing nails. I started practicing the acrylics. I wanted to expand my skills. So in the summertime now, I'm at my grandmother's and I'm on her front porch and I'm practicing my nails. And she was like, what's that smell? But whatever. Next thing you know, I go to school for the court reporting, this, that, and the other, but it always stayed in my mind with the nails. So when I met my husband, I enrolled in nail school, New York City, 1999. So I've had my license for nails since 1999. Fast forward 5 years later, my teacher, Miss Burrell, Miss B, I don't know if she's still living, but God rest her soul if she's passed on. She recommended me to be on the board. So I was a tester. I was a state examiner for New York State because you have to be at that time you had to be not volunteered in. What do you say? Like voted in? Like she had to put my name in. I don't know what they call that. Not vouched for, but she put my name into the state so I can be a state board examiner. So I did that in New York City for quite a few years, as well as, just doing regular nail tech stuff. So when I got out of nail tech school, I worked on Park Avenue, and that's where I did my first celebrity. I don't know if you know the name Hal Jackson. He was a radio personality, and he was my first celebrity, so to speak, that I did. And then I worked at Saks or Fifth, and that's where I saw Al Roker's wife, Deb. Anyway, I got nothing to say about that. But yeah, so I started meeting minor celebrities, I guess you would say, at that time. At that time.
And that was at Saks Fifth.
Saks Fifth Avenue, yes. And Saks Fifth Avenue was right down the street from where I would go to school next. I went to Christine Valmy for my skincare aesthetic license. So that was in 2001. So 1999, my nail license, 2021, I mean 2001 was my aesthetic license. So I'm licensed, two licenses in New York State. Um, but the thing was, since I already had my nail license, when I went to school for at Christine Valmy, um, they gave me credit for that. And then I was teaching the nail class because they needed a like a substitute teacher because they didn't have an evening teacher. So to pay off my tuition, they let me teach that in the evening. And everybody knows Essie. I think most people here would know Essie because we use her nail polish. It's in a lot of nail salons, and she sold like at CVS, Walgreens. Essie nail polish. I don't know that. Essie nail polish. Nobody knows. Ah, okay. But she came into the school, and she's like famous like OPI. No, nobody knows. Okay, so yes, so she came in, and that was my first brush with an educator. Oh, good. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, you know. Okay, good. So I met her and we took a picture together. And I was surprised that she actually came to the school, but I guess because it was on Park Avenue, of course, you know, she's going to be there. She's going to show her face, but she was also showing her product and how to use her product. And so that was good. Fast forward. Any other questions for me as far as that, Chin?
No.
Okay. So then we're going to move on because I'm licensed in 4 states and I have 10 licenses in 4 states. So New York, we already said, is my nails and my aesthetics, and I've never let them expire. So for you guys who's listening, if you're licensed in multiple states, keep those licenses because you never know if you're going to need them again. Now, I haven't lived in New York and I haven't been to New York in quite some time. I haven't lived in New York in over 20 years almost. And but I've never let my license expire because who knows? I may need it. I say that, but I don't think so, but you never know. So
After Saks Fifth Avenue, what did you do?
Saks Fifth Avenue, I went to another place. I worked at the World Trade Center before it went down. And I was a trainer at the World Trade Center. It was called Joseph Sione's. I was the only Black face there, and I was training others because it was very it was like Polish, it was different ethnicities there, but they really focused on like manicures. That's what the big deal was. But he wanted the staff, the owner wanted the staff to learn how to do acrylics. And at that time, I was the only one in there doing acrylics. So he would have me train them on how to do acrylics and how to pass state board.
Mm.
So, yes, yes. So, talk about somebody being used. But I wanted to be in the back room. I wanted to be doing facials. I wanted to be doing aesthetics. And even when I was at Saks Fifth Avenue, um, they would not let me go to the back room. They kept me in the front doing nails and doing pedicures. My husband was not happy with that. He did not like the fact that I'm sitting there just doing feet all day. And so we knew something had to change.
So
I didn't necessarily mind because that's what I went to school for, but I understood where he was coming from.
so what did you do? What was
I
next?
did what my first love, braids. I went back to my natural hair care. So we lived in Brooklyn, and oh, I was going to leave out a big chunk of this. Do you know the name Diane Bailey? She actually wrote the natural hair care curriculum for My Lady.
Mm-hmm.
I want y'all to get that. She wrote the curriculum for My Lady. And actually, I worked with her while I was working in her shop while she was writing that book. There, I learned so much. So what happened was she had I want to say it was a 4 week I want to say it was a 4 week class at Medgar Evers College. Now, I already knew almost everything that she taught in that natural hair braiding class. The only thing I didn't know at that time was how to lock hair. So, cornrows, I knew, box braids, I knew, twist, I knew. Everything she was saying, I knew. detangle, I knew. The only thing I didn't know was how to do locks. And so my husband was my first guinea pig. Thank you, honey. Um, but I was the best in the class. So she said, Tisha, would you mind coming to work for my shop? And then she said something like, you never knew that you would be working for me, or something like who knew that you would be working for me, or whatever. At that time I didn't know what big deal she was. I didn't know that she was a big deal. Because she didn't come across to me as like a snot or anything like that. She was just very, you know, warm or whatever. So I went and worked for her for a couple years. I went and worked for her. There, I learned a lot about business. She's the one who taught me how to get into the multiple magazines that I've been in. She would go out on photo shoots, and I'm like, okay, what's this about? She would do a lot of celebrity clientele. Okay, what's this about? She would have her own line of hair, buying direct from the vendors. She had her own oil brands and stuff like that. I learned a lot from her. She was in so many magazines and everything like that. I wanted to be like her. I'm ear hustling, I'm trying to learn all that I can learn. And I was fortunate to be, she had two separate rooms. I was fortunate to be in that front room and not in the back room, because I could really see what she was doing and how she was getting down and how her business was running. I learned a lot from her. Um, and I always give her props. And actually, my husband saw her not too long ago. She got on his bus, um, still staying humble. You know what I mean? And why buy a car in New York City when you could take the bus and the subway everywhere? So he just ran into her maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it's always love. It's always love. So yeah, she was a big deal. And for her to have written that curriculum so many years ago about natural hair care, when nobody was even thinking about it, she was thinking outside the box. And I hope she got her due for that, because now everybody's using it. Everybody's using that book.
Hmm. So when you left Diane Bailey, then what?
All right, so I don't know if I want to put this out there, but so my husband and I, because of the way I grew up, I said to my husband, while I was a foster child, I would like to take in foster children. And while I was working at Diane's, we started taking in foster kids. And we did that for 8 years. And it was great that we did that. And I appreciate my husband for doing that. And we actually adopted two sons out of foster care, But the thing was, my grandmother took us in and she said the siblings have to stay together. When we found out that my first son had a brother, I called my grandmother and I was like, Grandma, at this time I had gone back to school. I was starting school for social work at York College, because I was like, I should be a social worker. I think I could be a social worker. I would like to change, these kids' lives. I know what it's like to be a foster kid. I can do this. The hard part would be separating them or taking them out of their homes. That would be a hard part for me. But I had just started first semester, and then we get the call. Both my boys are born in September. So, school starts in August. So I'm sitting in class and I get the call. Melvin has a baby brother, and it's their right to be together. I called my grandmother immediately. Grandma, I just started school, but now Melvin has a brother. She said, I kept all of y'all together. At least keep those two together. And if you don't want to take any more after you have these two, then don't take any more. But you have to at least take these two together. I dropped out of school. I'd never continued for social work. And to this day, now Melvin is 21 and his brother is 20.
Hmm.
So, and my grandfather felt a different way about that. He felt like, why do I want to take on someone else's problems? Because if we don't take on someone else's problems, who will? We have all these kids running amok because nobody wants to take care of these kids. If I could, I still would want to take more foster kids in. But my husband said, I did my 8 years, I'm done. But if I had my way today, I still would take in more kids. Um, that's one of my goals. And I'm going to show you, you see this sign behind me, and I'll explain that in a little bit as we get further on. But so I left Diane. We were taking in foster kids. I was taking foster kids at that time. And she was very understanding that I had kids, because when you take in foster kids, especially when they're babies, you got to take them back and forth for visitation. You got to take them back and forth for doctor's appointments. You have to take them back and forth for social work. You have to just take them back and forth. So I had to constantly, and I could never keep a job. Even when I was at the World Trade Center, we were taking in foster kids, and I would use up my days, but it was a sacrifice I was willing to make because I know what it's like to be a foster child. And the foster agency loved my husband and I because we were young. There's not a lot of young people that takes in foster kids. And we never treated the foster kids like foster kids. And we only took in sibling groups. But I didn't want the baby babies. I wanted the ones that were a little older, because everybody wants the babies and no one wants the older ones. And the older ones are the ones that need to feel loved and wanted. So let's say I went shopping at Macy's. I'm not going to now shop at the dollar store and get them clothes. I'm going to still shop at Macy's for them as well. A lot of times, if we went on trips, like we would go to Disney, we've been to Disney so many times, but and we would ask, can we take the kids with us? And some parents, they would say no, which was a disservice to the child. Um, and then that's just the way it was. But we never wanted the children to feel less than. And in certain states, like in Pennsylvania, the way they do things is horrible because they don't really want you to include the child with your family. They want them to be like kind of separated from anyway, every state is different. Every
Mm,
state is different. But we did that for 8 years. And so I would work off and on, off and on. Then I opened my first, when I left Diane Bailey, I opened my first salon. It was a flop. It was,
mm,
and I got the name from my step grandmother, and I named it Nurtured. It was Nurtured Hair, Nails, and Skin. Nurtured Hairs, Nails, and Skin. So the front of the salon, I was 25. The front of the salon was the nail salon, and the back of the salon had two hair stations just for me to braid hair. So I bought it from this lady, Alicia, who was desperate to sell, but I didn't know anything about business. Now I'm looking at Diane, but I don't know how to run the books. I don't know, I don't know how to manage a salon. And the person that I bought the salon from, she wasn't showing me how to do anything. And she asked me to keep her brother on. He was just stealing from me. Um, I think I had that salon maybe less than 6 months. Maybe
mm.
less than 6 months, because I really didn't know what I was doing, didn't know how to market, didn't know how to, I didn't know. And then her clients weren't coming to me because I wasn't doing the nails the same way she did. It's always a comparison type thing. So that flopped. It may have been 6 months. It could have been less than that, to be honest with you. It was a flop. It was a flop. I was 25 years old. And then I love my husband. I must say that, because what he did was, it was around Valentine's Day. I can't say it was Valentine's Day, but it was around then. And to this day is there. Our home, we bought it in 1999. My husband is there right now. I'm in Delaware right now. So he made the basement my salon.
Mm.
He made the basement my salon. He put a little sink down there. I had a carpet down there. It has its own bathroom. It has its own entrance. And I started doing hair from home. And that's how I just started. And I don't want to say this because I don't want to encourage it, but I took some of the clients that I had from Diane, um, and that's how I started my business down there.
Mm. So you were in your home at this time.
Yes, at this time I was in my home taking in clients.
And how long did you do that?
Oh, I don't know how long I did that. I would like to say, maybe 2 years. And I'm gonna tell you, I will never do that again. One, even though it was its own entrance and everything, we still let them come through the main door. But I had this one client, very nosy. If there was a door crack, she wanted to see what was in that cracked door, and that cracked door would be like the living room. Um, and I'll be like, let's go straight to the basement. Let's go. There's no reason for you to be trying to peek in to see what's going on in my living quarters. You know what I mean? Then it would be something like, I had an English one. She was straight from England. Can I have a cup of tea? No, just because you're in my home doesn't mean you're in my home. We're here to work. No, you can't have a cup of tea. Get a cup of tea before you come. We're still friends on Facebook and everything today. Donadale Low. But yeah. So I would never ever do hair from home again. When I even made this transition from Pennsylvania to Delaware, people kept saying, "Are you going to do hair from home?" No. Why would I do that? No, never again. Never. Never. Never.
So you
So,
you did
yeah.
that for 2 years at the home.
Yes.
And then what did you do next?
So my husband and I kept visiting Pennsylvania. We kept visiting Pennsylvania, and I was like, huh, this seems like a nice place to move. But of course, the Poconos is known for being a tourist attraction. So me and my doneness, duh, it's very cold in the Poconos. But I wasn't thinking about the cold and the snow. I'm just thinking, oh, it's really nice up here, you know. And so we had our house built from the ground up and we moved to the Poconos. Now, my daughter at the time, she was not even one yet, or just about turning one when we moved here. And so it was a big adjustment. Now I'm in a strange place. I know nobody. We have no family, no friends, no anything. My husband works for New York City Transit Authority. He works for the bus company. And I'm home alone with three kids. Well, four, because my husband's daughter. So I have Melvin, Michael, Ray. They are, I want to say, two, three, and four, because they're all a year apart. Two, three, four. And then my oldest daughter, she would have been 14 at that time. That was an adjustment for her as well, because now she's in a school system where you don't see many of us, you know. And so coming from New York, Brooklyn to now the Poconos, there's no black teachers. There's no black administrative. There's none. There, and that's the truth. That still holds true today. It's none. So, but there was more of a mix of kids than we thought there would be, but not as far as teachers or administrators or print. There was one principal in the Poconos, just one one female black principal, and they made sure to get rid of her. So yeah, that was an adjustment. So after 2 years of staying home, well, it was 1 year I stayed home, and then the next year I went to school for cosmetology. That's now where the ball starts to get to roll. Um, I said to my husband, I can't do this. I can't take this. I can't, I'm not a housewife. I'm not meant to be in the house. I'm meant to be moving my hands. I took menial jobs. Like I worked at the resort. I was a maid at the resort. And I'm like, no. Now he had a thing about me doing feet. I had a thing about cleaning hotel rooms. You know, like I don't want to be cleaning behind people who've partied all weekend and just act like they don't have no kind of sense, leaving it a nasty, hot mess. Even when we go traveling, we try to make sure we clean up as best we can before we leave. I'm not trying to leave the housekeeper a big mess. I'm not trying to do that. I try to respect, I know it's their job, but come on. No. So I did that for a year. And then I was like, I'm going to school for cosmetology. And that's what I did. Because one thing you need to know is that when you're a foster child, it doesn't matter if you're in foster care one day, you qualify for full financial aid. My boys are adopted, they still get full financial aid. All you need to do is spend one day in foster care, and that's on the application, on your financial aid application. It says, have you ever been in foster care? Yeah, I have been one day. You know, I could have been in there for, I don't know, 14 hours, but I was in foster care. So I qualify for full financial aid. So I let that financial aid work for me. Like I said, I went to school for stenography and I used my financial aid there, but it wasn't finished. So I said, okay, I'm going to cosmetology school. It was right around the corner, Paul Mitchell. That was in 2008. Now, y'all heard the story about me going to Christine Valmy, and they gave me credit for my nails. Well, when I got to Paul Mitchell, they not only gave me credit for my nails, they gave me credit for aesthetics. And so they said, Tisha, you can work off your tuition. Here we go, bartering again. If you can teach the natural hair care, because there was no one teaching braiding, it wasn't even a thing to think about. There was no one teaching locking. Come on now, who's doing that? So I taught that. I taught the makeup course. I taught the nail course. I taught 3 courses. So that's how I was working off my tuition. Thank you very much. And then they said, I finished the course, I finished the cosmetology program, and they said, you would be great as a teacher. And I said, ugh, I don't want to be a teacher. I don't see me teaching kids. They were just gonna get on my nerve. They don't listen, this, that, and I'm going on and on. But I took the course. I took the course, but I never used it until now. This is that was 2009. This is 2024. I'm just getting started with that right now. So I graduated in 2009 from cosmetology. I opened a salon right around the corner from the school. So what the school did was we had this like kind of barter system type thing. So if I had a client, I would go to the shop and I would do my client, and then I would come back to the school and I would teach whatever. And so that's the way we worked it out until I finished my school program, and that was it.
Mm.
And that was
So
Paul Mitchell, 2009.
that was 2009, Paul Mitchell.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So then what? When you were at, yeah, what were you thinking then?
Then I was like, well, what happened was my husband was like, I said, let me back it up because I was in school, and I said to my husband, Walter, I believe I want to open my own um, salon. I said, I want to open up a natural hair care salon. And he said, Tisha, there's nothing like that out here. There's no room for you out here for that. And I said to him, Walter, you don't see it because you're not here, but I see it. And even if he didn't see it, I saw the potential for it. Because why else am I sitting here teaching these classes? Somebody wants this. And I'm seeing that more Black people are moving in. More Black people are moving in. You got to see the trends when they're coming in. You see the Black people moving in. It's the Poconos. We're here in the Poconos. You work for transit, and now there's a lot of transit workers moving into the Poconos. And a lot of them are going back to New York City to get their hair done because there's no one in the Poconos to do their hair. Why should they have to go back 2 hours when I'm right here? Honey, I need some money to open my business. And I got the money to open my business. And it was a two-seater. It was a two-seater. And I could have put a third. And that's how we started. We started with 2 seats, and the word got out there. And I was in a back alley, and I even said, "Who works in the alley?" Because one of the students actually showed me where this salon was, and it was like, she's about to move to North Carolina, and she's looking for someone to take over her salon. And I was like, "It's a Black salon?" And the white girl showed me. She took me right around the corner. We're still good friends today, my Leanne. Um, and I was like, people work back here, And so my husband was like, is it going to be safe back there? And I'm right between a church and a bank. I said, I couldn't be more safe. I got the church people praying all the time. I got the bank, the lights, they got cameras everywhere. So I didn't feel any way, I didn't feel unprotected being in that back alley. So I worked there for many years. I worked there for 3 years in the back alley. Then we blew up. We got so big, we became so popular. And I have to thank my girl Saja. I'll mention her all the time. I was a mentor. I would get the students from the VOTEC, and they would pass the baton, so to speak. So Saja was my first one. Saja now, okay, she came to me at 17. I don't want to give her age, but I'm gonna give it. She's in her 30s now. She is now a celebrity stylist. And when I say celebrity, I mean celebrity, celebrity. So I had two, I don't want to call them celebrity stylists, but they work for I don't know if you remember the show Glee. And then the partner works for Saturday Night Live. So Sasha was like, I would like to be a celebrity stylist. I would like to, so that was my contact. I said, can you take her with you to New York City? And so she said, yeah, I'll take her to New York City so she could go on the set of Saturday Night Live and see what we do. All right. So what they were teaching her was how to ventilate. She came back. She was so upset. She said, never, never, I never want to do that, because I didn't know Saturday Night Live, they really hand make all of their wigs for their sitcoms, for their, for their skits. They actually sit there and hand tie them. So she was like, no, I do not want to ventilate. I do not want to do that. It took me forever to do just this little patch. And her mom went with her. So now we're talking about celebrities like Rihanna. Last week she just did the Victoria's Secret show where she did Tyler. She did the cover for Serena Williams. She started out, she was doing Fenty. She was doing Oscar de la Renta, Fashion Week. She was doing stuff like that. That's how she started. And now my girl is all over the place. She's all over the place. And that's my mentee. And she came to me specifically because I went to the VOTEC, and not too many of us go to the VOTEC to teach because we don't want to teach what we know. We want to gatekeep. We want to keep it a secret. We don't want to share. And she was so happy that I was there, that I had locks. She sat right in the front seat. She shed a tear and she said, I'm coming to work for you. And I said, I hear that all the time. A week later, that girl was clickety clacking across the parking lot. And I'm like, who is this walking up to my door? And it was her. And she would stay with me. At that time, the salon was just opening. We would be there like 2 o'clock in the morning. My husband's like, where are you? Why are you working so late? Because now I'm working like a dog to build up my clientele. And she stayed with me. She stayed with me. And once we blew up, we moved to Main Street. We had two salons. We had one salon for children and one salon for the adults. And we were the only salon in the area to do that. And we were put in the newspaper for that. Then we started doing hair shows, natural hair shows. Every year we would do a natural hair show. We were supposed to do one in 2020 and we got shut down because of COVID. So she was my right hand girl then. She's my right hand girl now. I just spent the night at her house last weekend. And that last weekend, she had just done Tyler. And she did the album cover for Tyler as well. So she did her twice. So I'm just like, this is my girl, and we're down for life. So, but after she came on, the rule was she now had to get someone else behind her from the VOTEC to kind of not take her spot, but who's going to be the next in line. And that's the way we built up our staff, is by, I only wanted VOTEC people. I did not want anyone from the regular beauty school. I did not take anyone from Paul Mitchell. I took one student from Paul Mitchell, but that was it. Every other worker came from the VOTEC because they were more moldable. They were more willing to learn. They didn't have preconceived, notions of what was going to be. So they were just teachable. They were easy. Chin?
No. Okay, now, when did you really dig into the school thing? When did you dig into that?
That wouldn't be until now. So I had my salon 15 years. My salon 15 years out there in the Poconos. And next weekend is actually probably, hopefully, question mark, my last weekend there. And actually it's to celebrate Saja's birthday next weekend. But I was listening to you. I had been listening to you for a while talk about school ownership. These are not things that's taught in school. I mean, they just brush across it, but they don't really tell you how to, they don't even tell you how to really own a salon. They tell you to work for somebody. And now you see today, a lot of people want to work for themselves. That's why you have so many salon suites and stuff like that.
How did you find me?
I don't even know. I don't even know how I came across you. It wasn't through YouTube. It wasn't through looking up how to open up a school. I don't know how I came across you, to be honest. I know I always saw you on Instagram, but I'm like, what is this Millionaire Barber about? But I never knew you from anything. I don't even know how I came across you. I really don't know. But it wasn't through YouTube. Um, I don't know if somebody mentioned your name. Was it Tamika James? That, because I have so many mentors. I have so many mentors, so many people that I look up to. And any one of them could have probably probably mentioned you, and I may have looked you up that way, but I don't know how.
So you
Tamika
start.
James? It probably was. It could have been Tamika James, honestly, because I've taken a lot of her classes. And then you introduced me to Top Curl, and I spoke to her on the phone
Mhm.
several years ago, and I was like, okay, she's doing it, and now she's just celebrated her 5th year open, and I follow a lot of what she's doing. I see we're just one state away. Actually, I ended up going to her school, but her school obviously was closed that day because it was a Sunday. Um, I was like, oh, this is where she is. I just so happened to be in Maryland for Sarah Jakes. I went to see Sarah Jakes when she was promoting her book. And I said, oh, this is where Top Curl is. And a lot of what she's doing, I already have in my mind to do. And I'm like, what? We're thinking on the same line. But I met her through you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you
So
looking at this stuff, what were you thinking? Tell us about that.
about what?
So you watching these videos or what are you doing?
I don't know. I was listening to you say how you went to Paul Mitchell School. I'm like, okay, we got a connection there. Um, how Miss Velma helped you out so much, and that's why you are giving back and you feel like, you want us to have a piece of the pie. And I think that's what really attracted me to just keep listening and watching and listening and watching. Um, and I've spoken to you like um you're so accessible. Like I would never think that I'm getting your live number, and I've spoken to you twice, I believe, maybe 3 times. And I'm like, okay, tell me about the tap and the pill. Tell me how NACIS works. Tell me what NACIS fees are. Tell me, you know, and by just constantly hearing you speak, it was like, okay, what made me go into school ownership is that my husband in 2020 said, yep, tired of living in Pennsylvania. I'm ready to move to Delaware. Well, we have no family in Delaware. We're back in the same boat as when we moved to Pennsylvania. I said, you know what? If we're moving to Delaware, I don't want a salon. I want to open a school. That was my bottom line. And I opened up a salon, but it's within the school. Now we're going to get into the meat and the potatoes because NACIS now, I went to their um I went to their thing in June, which was right here in DC. I went to the conference and they said you can have a salon within the school as long as you separate the hours. Your salon cannot run the same hours as your school hours. You have to separate it. So, school for me is Monday through Thursday. Well, it's Monday through Friday, but Fridays there's no school after 4:30. So that means the salon can open from 4:30 Friday evening all the way till Sunday night, and then back to school on Monday. I'm even considering cutting out the Monday and being off on Monday and just having class Tuesday through Friday at this point because most conferences land on a Monday and I would need that Monday off anyway. But that's how I came up with I want to own a school now is because I'm like, I don't want to still be behind the chair. I've been behind the chair all my life. It's time for me to get from behind the chair and start to teach what I know because I've mentored so many students and a lot of them have been successful. When I left my salon, I actually left it to my last person from Votech, my last employee from Votech. She now has my salon in the Poconos. And when I need to go to the Poconos, that's where I'm going to work. I have a key. She doesn't bother me. She doesn't say, Tisha, can you give me nothing? I just go in, I work, I do my job. I even help her sometimes. I'm still giving tips. I'm still giving Sasha tips and tricks. She was like, oh, that's how you did that? Yes, that's how I did that. So we're never beyond learning. I'm never beyond learning. My girls are never beyond learning. We're all very close. I love it. I love it. So now the school. Now, Chin, I must say, a school is not easier to open than a salon. I hear you say that all the time.
Well, I'll tell you this. You if you now my question is, I ask people, do you have a child? Have you raised a child? If you can do that, you can do anything because that is
True
hard
indeed.
as heck.
True indeed. True indeed. Um, so, but it's been very challenging, and I have posted a lot of my challenges on my Instagram because I used to work for Empire. I taught at Empire for a little bit, and a lot of what I'm doing at my school is different because of my students and listening to what they wanted. They're saying, Tisha, we want to learn natural hair care, but there's no one here to teach it. We want to learn how to braid. We want to learn how to weave. We want to learn. And if there's no one to teach it, now you just open the door for me to teach it, because a lot of salons are still just cut and color. And what's going to separate me, and that's what part of my business plan is, what separates me. And we're going to change the word, from my competition. They're not my competition. They're my colleagues. I did my grand opening October 3rd. And a lady said to me, she works with Paul Mitchell, and that's my competition. Well, the owner at that Paul Mitchell, she's a Black lady and she has locks like me, but we're not competition. I could never compete against Paul Mitchell. Paul Mitchell is Paul Mitchell. I'm a small minority owned, independently Black woman with my own school. I cannot compete against Paul Mitchell, who has 100 franchise schools, or Empire, who has 77 schools just under himself. And a lot of people don't know that Empire is owned by one family, but Paul Mitchell is franchised. I am not their competition. I am so different from Cut and Color, and Empire is middle of the road. I'm more of a niche kind of a school where we will be making wigs for women with cancer. Um, my IG is Alternatives Beauty School or Alternatives Beauty Studio. Um, my niche is natural hair care because we're not taught it enough. We will be making wigs as a requirement. They have to make the wigs for women with cancer, alopecia, and autoimmune disease. I think this is what we were talking about last time, Chin. So I'm going to show you, you see my poster here, so AB, Alternatives Beauty, that's my nonprofit. Alternatives Beauty is my nonprofit. Then you see Alternatives Beauty School, that's for the school. And then obviously Alternatives Beauty Studio. So we have three things running at one time. Alternatives Beauty, I'm waiting for the, good, I'm happy that you are. Um, we're waiting for the IRS to send me. It's not clear. Let me try and stand up and see if I can get it closer. All right. I don't know. I'm just going to turn the camera to it itself. Alternatives Beauty. I don't know if you could see it.
I think it's kind of blurry.
Oh, okay. Is it closer or farther? Should I go
Got to go back, farther
back?
back.
Back?
I could
I have
go
that.
online though and share the screen if you want me.
Okay.
Okay. So can you see this screen?
Yes.
You want to just tell me what?
Oh. Oh, okay. Wait, let me see. Uh, oh, wow. Go down. I don't think it's there. Go down.
Um,
No, it's not on this one. It would probably be on Alternatives. It might be under my name, Alternatives Beauty Studio. It might be there. There's really nothing on school yet because we just opened, so I haven't really been posting too much there. There we
okay.
go.
Just tell me
There
what
we
to
go.
click.
Keep going down. Keep going down, Chin. Oh, it's not there. You're not going to see it.
Well, do you want me to click on anything and you kind of tell them uh, about it?
What? This is, what is this? Oh, this is me opening up the school. How did you get these photos? Those shouldn't even be there.
I'm on Instagram. You posted them.
Yeah, well. Well, no. Go back up the other
Okay.
way.
Here.
Yep, keep going up. Keep going up.
This is the top.
Hmm. No, it's not there because people started to, when we did the photos, we did it at the backdrop, but that's just the regular studio backdrop. So no, you're not going to see it.
Okay. Any pictures you want me to click on and you explain anything? I saw you
Okay.
there with Sharita
Oh yeah, that was at the
conference, some
that was
conference,
at the
the NACA.
IBM show, the
Oh,
IBM show. And these are my bankers here with the red and green. Those are my bankers. That was February 14th. That's when I got approved for my loan for the school.
how'd you get approved for a loan for a school?
I that was a lot of work. Of course I had to give them 3 years of taxes for my business as well as personal. Um, this is me with the guy with the peace sign. That's him taking down my sign. That's the back alley because after I went to school for funeral service and I got my degree finally in funeral service. And then I moved back to the alley where I first started because I only needed a small space because by that time Saja had left and opened her own studio. So I'm back in that back. The products there, those are my own products. The black and
Correct.
white boxes, the white boxes. Yes. So my students will be using my facial line and my makeup line. That's the students will be using my products. And we have shampoo bars for locks. Those are handmade. Thank you. Thank you. Chin, if you go write that magazine right there, that cover, yes, that's the last magazine that's my model right there. And this is Diane Bailey. You just clicked her
What?
right there. That's my
Oh,
husband and Diane Bailey, the one who wrote the book
hmm.
for natural hair care. That's her. These are all videos just saying what's going on, the problems I'm having with my contractors. I'm suing them actually. We go to court February 6th. My daughter graduating, my daughter prom, stuff like that. So everybody wants to know a little bit of your personal life. So I make sure I try to put a little bit of everything on my regular site.
Now,
So
go
much.
ahead. How did you find your building?
Well, I started that as probably almost as soon as we moved out here. My husband and I, we would take weekend trips. I always say my weekend shenanigans. And my husband, he just he appeases me.
Hmm.
So everything was very expensive, but the mall out here is that's me teaching my students how to wax. You see my armpit, and I'm not shy. I'm like, go ahead and y'all do it. I'll be your guinea pig. I feel like if I'm going to teach it, I gotta trust my students to know what they're doing. So students always get nervous, but it was okay. So the mall out here is gave me the best rate. They already had a sprinkler system, and so that's where we decided to put the school.
Okay, so you signed a lease on the school. What do you do next? Because there's a lot of people on here who are scared, don't believe, just all kinds of things going through their brain. So can you kind of
Shin, the thing was you got to be so careful. Like I said, I'm licensed. I hold 10 licenses in 4 states. And y'all probably asking, well, what is it? So I'm going to tell y'all that, and then I'm going to get into my little story because I always got a story. So yes, you have to have some skin in the game in order to get the loan. So when I got the loan, I'm going to tell you what I got. Oh, that was a story in itself. My licenses, New York, Delaware, Pennsylvania, and Maryland. Pennsylvania, I have New York is 2 licenses. Pennsylvania was 4 licenses. Now it's 3 because I closed my business. So that license is gone. But I have my teacher's license, my regular license. No, 2. So I have 2 there. My teacher's license and my regular license because I no longer have the business. And then in Delaware, I have my teacher's license, my regular cosmetology license, my school license, and my studio license. So that's 4 licenses there. In Maryland, I have 1 license. So that's how. But the thing is, people don't take advantage of reciprocity. In business I've had my licenses for like ever, but reciprocity, Delaware has more required hours. So Delaware is 1,500 hours. I'll automatically get reciprocity for Maryland, who is also 1,500 hours. Now, had I come to Delaware before moving to Pennsylvania, I would have automatically qualified to be licensed in Pennsylvania because their license is only 1,250 hours. But because I've had my license in Pennsylvania for so many years, I automatically got reciprocity in Delaware. So we need to learn how to use the power of reciprocity for our states. I plan on getting 2 more states, my sister state of Alabama and my brother state of Indiana, but those are a little more tricky. So that's one thing. Do you have to have money? Yes. So I'm gonna tell you, when I first went to the first bank, in certain states, you don't even have to have a teacher's license. Like Maryland, there is no teacher's license. I'm just a senior cosmetologist. I could go to Maryland and open a school today. Out here in Delaware, there is no license for natural hair care. You don't even have to have a cosmetology license. I can open up a shop today and start braiding hair with no repercussion. But in Pennsylvania, you better have a cosmetology license. You cannot just open up a natural hair care school. So every state is different, and that's why it's important to know your state laws. So back to the money. I went to this first bank, and the banks are different. The first bank was like, whatever you've already spent, because I had already spent money on the architect, because out here in Delaware, you have to have an architect draw up your plans for the school. In Pennsylvania, you do not need an architect to draw up your plans for the school. You just give them a drawing of the school, and that's it. But out here, you have to pay an architect to draw up your, so that money for this particular bank, it was WSFS, WFSF, whatever. It's the local bank here. That money, and I had already had my website made, and I had already put money out. They were putting that toward my loan, but I didn't get approved by them. And she told me I needed $215,000. That's what I was going to need. But something happened and I didn't get the loan. It wasn't because of my credit. It was because of something else. And then I went over to M&T Bank, which a lot of states have M&T Bank. But when I went to M&T, I had only applied for 175,000 because I didn't know that I was going to need more. But they do theirs differently. Nothing that you put your money in, they would not take that. They wanted cash money. They wanted to know what were you going to put in? And I think it was like, it wasn't quite 10%. It could have been 10% that I needed to put. Yes, it was 10%. I needed to put 10% down. So if I wanted 175,000, I had to leave down 17,500. That's what I had to leave down. And that's what I did leave down at M&T Bank. So every bank is different, but you have to have some skin in the game. They want to know that you have invested something for your own business. So yes, you have to have that money ready. And they want a solid business plan. They asked me for 3 years projection. What do I look to be making this year, next year, and the year after? They wanted to know, and I had my accountant do that. They wanted to know everything. How many pieces of equipment you were going to buy, how many stations, how many chairs, they wanted it down to the penny. They wanted to know how much is your insurance going to be? How much is your cable going to be? Your internet going to be? How much? They want to know everything. So the business plan took me forever to write because I had to they wanted to know who are your competitors? How are you going to stand out from your competitors? My competitive advantage was I'm a Black female. There are no Black female. There's very few, but none out here in Delaware that's independently owned. Like I said, Paul Mitchell is a franchise. So even though there's one Black female out here, she's under a franchise. She's not her own.
Now the building, did you have to do a build out or did you find one that was already a former salon? whatever.
I had to do a build out. I had to do a build out, and that's where you have to know your building codes and stuff like this. So when I said you better keep your licenses up to date, what happened was this contractor that I had, he was licensed for Maryland and Delaware. However, he let his Delaware license expire. So now when it's time for me to get inspected, I failed inspection. I had to open up all my walls, all my sinks are in, everything is in. And that's what you'll see under Alternatives Beauty Studio. I couldn't put it under school because I'm not allowed, every state is different. I couldn't even say coming soon. I could not have any kind of social media saying that Alternatives Beauty School is here, nothing. So that's why there's nothing on my school page, but everything is on my studio page. Chronicalizing, I don't know the word, but yeah, saying what was happening. So he did not have his license. When it was time for inspection, I had to open up every wall all over again. So now we are going to court because it ended up costing me almost $30,000 to redo everything that was done. Matter of fact, I don't even know how he was licensed once in Delaware because where there was should have been 6 vents, he only put 1 vent. The plumber had to come in and put the other 5. So things like that. So you want to make sure now who goes out and say, let me see your license and register. I'm not going to say, let me see your license. If you tell me that your license is insured, I'm believing that your license is insured. I will never fall for that again because I got burnt. No, he wasn't black. He was white. He was white and his workers were Spanish. And we had our first date and he lied and he said that I knew that they were illegal. Now, why would I assume just because they're Spanish that they're illegal? I can't assume that. I can't assume that. So we're going to court February 6th. We're going to court February 6th. This was a very expensive learning experience for me. I had to get 3 bids. The bank requires you to get 3 bids. So I got 3 bids. I had a Spanish bid, I had a black bid, I had a white bid. All their bids came in about the same, maybe $1,000 more or less, different. But yeah, yeah, yeah. So we had to get the 3 bids. We had to, like I said, we had to give prices for everything that we were going to get put in there. And so it put me in a bind. It put me almost in a financial hole because the walls had to be reopened. And I got that notice while we were on vacation celebrating our 25th wedding anniversary. We were in Hawaii when I got the news that the inspection did not pass. So now my husband, we're enjoying our time, but I'm making arrangements to get everything done so that the school can open. But now the school is behind. We opened 3 months later than I wanted to. We should have opened in July. We just opened in October. And now October is one of the slowest months for enrollment. So that's what I'm having a problem with now, Chin, is that it's October is going into November. The holidays are coming and the enrollment is what is the problem now.
Yeah, usually these months going into the holidays, everybody's kind of waiting for the new year.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I'm getting. I'm getting the leads, but no one is ready to start today.
You may have to give some type of incentive.
Yes, and that's where Alternatives Beauty comes in. I'm just waiting for the okay from the IRS because I'll say we're giving some kind of a grant and get these butts in seats.
Okay. How long have you been in the industry? Since 99?
Oh,
How long have you been?
long time. Since before then, since 18, and I'm how old now? I'm 51. So 18 minus 51.
That's a long time.
That's a long time.
So knowing everything that you know now, all these years, 18 to 51, what would you tell your younger self? Or what would you, yeah.
That I can do it. Because, I would tell my younger self, I can do it. I would tell myself, my younger self, I'm not stupid. My sister had to put that in my head. She's like, Tisha, how could you say that you're stupid? How could you feel stupid? Look at you. You've written 6 books. My sister and I wrote books together. We had 5 books together that we wrote over COVID time. And then a separate book that I wrote before. 3 years. Thank you. So she's like, how could you be stupid? You had your business 15 years, 16 years. How could you be stupid? You're putting on these hair shows. Nobody knows how to do that. Nobody's thinking outside the box like you. I'm thinking, okay, so I'm going to have my alternatives beauty, that's my 501c3, so I can give back to people who cannot afford scholarship, people who want to go to beauty school but can't afford it. That's what that's for. That's for my students, my little ones, 12 to, let's say, 16 years old, boot camps, who want to learn how to braid. They will be like with like-minded kids, who want to start their business, or, who just has an interest in the beauty industry. That's a big deal. Because I know beauty was my way out. Like I said, I started with the Queen Helene julep mint face mask, and I've been in it ever since. Continuing education. I just love going back, learning, and going to all of these conferences and stuff. I love it. I'm never dull of the beauty industry, and I drag my husband with me. And I don't even say I drag him, because he's willingly coming with me to these things because he knows I love it. And even when I don't go with him, I'm taking my sister. I'm like, matter of fact, I have a conference in 2 weeks, and my sister's going to meet me in Georgia. And we just love learning. You can never learn enough, because you're never going to know it all. And as long as I'm willing to learn, I'm going to continue learning. I don't know. And then the studio is really not for me. The studio is for my students. When my students graduate, when they finish school, they will be able to work. Certain ones, the best, will work at the studio, because the next thing you hear is, oh, I graduated, but I can't find a job. So the whole point of me opening the studio is not for me to take clients. It's for my students to be able to take clients once they graduate. That's what Alternatives Beauty Studio is for, not for me. Um, 501c3, I just wanted to be a big deal, because, like I told you, I started out as a foster child. I still would like to do transitional housing eventually with my 501c3. I want to broaden it. I don't want it to just be beauty. I want it to go to teenage parents, teenage moms. But my heart really is with the boys. The boys are the ones, to me, more lost than the girls. So the girls mostly have a shelter. The boys are the ones that's out in these streets. And so that's really what I want my 501c3 eventually to do. I know when we transition out of foster care, they wanted to put me back in the projects. I don't want that for these kids that can have a possibility of a better life. I would like them to have a better life. So my 501c3 has a lot of layers under it. But it starts with beauty. I got to start with the foundation and then branch out from there.
You know how to do a lot. You know that?
That's what makes me not stupid, right, Nikki? So, yeah.
So, because I only know how to cut curly wavy with kinky hair, so I'm probably real stupid, because I can only do one thing. Yeah, you got a lot of education. You know how to do a lot of stuff.
The hard knock life.
Okay, so can you give them your Instagram? I'll type
my Instagram. Okay, it's alternatives with an S school, alternatives beauty school. And then it's alternatives beauty studio.
All right. So I just put that in the chat.
And if you look on the Alternatives Beauty Studio, you will find out what I'm talking about as far as the contractor. You will see me going back and forth to court. You'll see the story of what's going on because I could not post that for the school, because I was not allowed to say that I even am building a school. You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
One more thing, Chin, one more thing. I want those that are watching to do community service, be involved in your community. Like you heard me say, I go back to the Votech school for that. But like this weekend, I'm doing this entrepreneurial, I was asked to do this entrepreneurial volunteer thing this weekend, Saturday, help these kids write business plans. It's a 3-week program. Then I'm also giving back by doing, do I have a school in Maryland? No, I do not. But I'm right on the cusp between Delaware and Maryland. I love where I am because I'm right near, oh, that's the beauty of my school, because I can teach Maryland, Delaware, and PA. You will get reciprocity. Okay, I'm gonna stop with that. But give back to your community. I'm going to be doing this, give back to the cancer patients and stuff like that. Like I said, autoimmune, we're going to be making the wigs. You want to get back into your community because that's what's going to make your name out there, make it known. You know, someone came to me and said, I don't see the bigger schools doing that. I don't see the bigger schools giving back to the community like that, because you got to be in the community. You know, I don't know. I was telling my sister about this foundation earlier today for the cancer, and I see all these lists of products and names of different stores like Sephora and stuff like that, but I don't see not one beauty school that gives back to the cancer, this particular cancer foundation, not one school. And this is for skincare, makeup, and hair, but not one school gives back to this foundation. So I'm going to be the only one, and I'm happy to say that.
Okay, Alternative Beauty
Yes.
School, yeah, that's it.
Yes.
Okay. What else?
Jen, something I'm gonna take from you is that you said do a press release every month. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna give a press release every month. I might not be seen every month, but I'm gonna do a press release every month. You know.
Sooner or later they will.
Yes. You could get on my team anytime, girl. You could get on my team anytime. And I mean that. I'm really from the heart with that.
Colon cancer surgery, headed to chemo.
Oh wow. Wow. Wow.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Anything else you want to share? Because you shared a lot with us. I didn't realize that you experienced all of this. You don't look like it.
Well, thank you. I try not to. Well, I'm not going to say clean living, but pretty much clean living. Yeah. I really wish that it was a little earlier because I wanted to give the guests a tour of the school because it's really beautiful. It's 5,000 square feet, but it's really, the way we laid it out was really good. Yeah. Thank you, LaShawn. And my sister's there in the chat. She's in there, Tanika Gillard. That's my twin, my one and only.
Tanika.
And she is a nurse, but she also does natural hair care. And she does a lot in her community. And she's in Alabama. So we're into totally, like, she's a nurse and I'm a funeral director. She deals with the living, I deal with the dead. And some would say, why the dead? And I'm like, well, you know, what's the difference? Not what's the difference, but your cosmetology license, you can do so many things with it, you know? She's in Birmingham.
Hello, T.
Yeah. Chin.
How you doing?
I'm good. I wasn't planning on being a part, but you did great, T. And thank you for having me on. I'm just talking. I'm in Birmingham, Alabama. I've learned everything from Tesha.
Go ahead, Nikki.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't see anybody. I don't know. Okay, there you go, T. But yes, Tesha has taught me a lot. I was the little bratty sister, 4 minutes younger, and she taught me how to braid because I was a baby. And so she's been a great inspiration to the family. When I say the family, that would be my brothers and I. She's been the anchor, and just watching her struggle with this school, getting it up and open and ready to go. has been a challenge for her. So to watch her and to see her progress over the months is inspirational, to say the least, because I would have thrown in the towel a long time ago, but she's very determined, to do what she has to do. And I think that's what keeps her motivated and keeps her going. And then I think also when she mentors others, that inspires her to keep on going too, because they come back and tell her thank you and they appreciate the things that she's taught them, and they're able to take it out into the world. Like she said, Saja is one of her bigger ones, but then the young lady that took over her salon, that Tisha pretty much handed her, because she trained up under Tisha for so many years, and now Tisha trusts her with her baby. That was her salon. Unlike the person who gave Tisha the salon at 25, that person did not guide Tisha at all, didn't give her no help. And that's why Tisha failed within those first 6 months. Now, I have to commend, the um, all of y'all for having businesses. If y'all have your own, I like to have a space that I'm able to rent out. No, I don't do hair from home, but I commend you all for. I had a salon for maybe a year. That was just too much for me. But my life circumstances are different, so I do commend you all for going out there and putting in the work each day.
Well, we thank you.
Thank you, Millionaire Barber. And I believe that you have a connection with, one of the barbers here. His name is Randall Dawkins. Him and Tisha, they kind of ride on the same wave. So I know that he's familiar with you because he has talked to me about you, and he's talked to my sister about you as well.
Oh, okay, good.
All the way in Birmingham, Alabama.
Hmm.
I'm gonna mute myself now.
Okay.
But you mentioned Sharice, and actually Sharice is coming to my school tomorrow to see it. So the one that I left my salon to, and she's gonna come visit the school tomorrow. So that's gonna be good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's a 2.5 hour drive from the Poconos to Delaware.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, we always end with